Hi everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge, and welcome to a video I'm going to try to keep as kind of a quickie, but this came up in my recent video I just put out that was Have I read it, will I read it, where I mentioned some books that I have DNF'd, and particularly one of them, I believe it was Stay With Me, that I said that I was just bored with it and so I DNF'd. Was it that one? It might have been a different one, but anyway, sometimes I have serious reasons why I DNF and sometimes I just have like petty reasons why I'm like, fuck this book right now, or things like that. And so I wanted to go over kind of the like 4 reasons why I DNF books, and they're all very varying reasons and they are kind of all over the place. So that's why I figured, I was like, well, let me just do a quick video, because I have done a video before about why I rate books, and I've also mentioned in other like Q&A videos why I DNF and like how that happens and everything. And kind of the main thing to put out there is that I don't rate many books 1 or 2 star, because if I have sat through them and rated them that, it's because I wanted to rage read the book. Now, as also I have said many, many times, I do not enjoy ranting about books. Like, I do it sometimes because I get so passionate about it that I can't help myself, but it's not something that I enjoy. Like, I don't go into a book ever wanting to hate it. So if I start a book and within the very beginning I'm like, this isn't going to vibe with me, or I start to get certain feelings, I'll be like, nope, we're bouncing out. So that's why, you know, last year I only had 2 1-star books and I had like 5 2-star books. It's very rare for me because I DNF. Now, sometimes that DNF is one that I count as a DNF and like put it into my stats. And sometimes I will DNF it so quickly that I don't even track it. I'll just be like, nope, this didn't work. And so I wanted to go over those reasons with you, so that if you ever see that I've DNF'd a book, or you see that, let's say I posted on my Instagram that I'm reading a book and then you never hear me talk about it, well, it might be because it got a quick DNF and it wasn't even enough where, you know, maybe I didn't even have like a solid reason. Now, to be clear, any reason you want to stop reading a book, you can do it, okay? Like, literally, unless this is an assignment for school, nothing about reading should be with a gun to your head, okay? None of this should be like, you must finish it, okay? Now, I recently heard some really cool stuff. Charles did a video about rating with Tori. I will link that up here. Charles from Charles on Stereo, or Books on Stereo. I always want to say Charles on Stereo. And he said that he can't DNF because so many books he only discovered he loved them in the second half. And that is a totally valid reason. Like, that is a great reason to keep reading, because you have had that happen so many times. For me, I'm just not that optimistic that that will happen with certain books, unless I have the pre-knowledge from friends that, hey, the first half of this book is going to be lame, you know? I just don't have that much patience. Like, you guys, so many people are in awe of how many books I read, and it is because DNF, I'm willing to do it very quickly. Like, there are very few books that I make myself get through. There are book club books. Sometimes a viewer recommendation I will like push through, but usually that means I'm going to rate the book lowly. And again, I don't enjoy raging against a book. So if I know that it's going to be a 3-star or less book, I might just tap out, because I'm like, this isn't going to be rated that high and I don't want to. So, okay, let's diving into it. These are the 4 main reasons why I DNF. Number 1, it has too many triggers or pet peeves. Now, recently I've been surprised by a few books that had both triggers and pet peeves for me. Those are different things. Triggers are things that, for me, they just make it too uncomfortable because it hits too close to home, or it's something that I don't feel like should be used as a plot point, or it just doesn't work for me. Whereas a pet peeve is just a trope that I don't enjoy. Like, I don't enjoy time jumps. They're a pet peeve for me. It doesn't mean they're not necessary sometimes or they can't be used effectively. They're just not my favorite thing. Also, secret baby. Not surprise baby. Secret baby is a pet peeve of mine. I really hate when it happens because I think it's irresponsible and horrible. Doesn't mean it's not a valid plot point sometimes, just means that I don't like it. So I will usually push through if it's a pet peeve. But if the book has both triggers and pet peeves, it just becomes too much for me, and I will DNF sometimes at 70% into a book. This happened for me with the book 56, is it 56? Whatever it is, One by Seven Rue, where it had a lot of triggers for me and pet peeves, and I was at 70% in the book, and I literally checked out mentally, and I was like, I don't care about either of these characters and whether they have an HEA. And if that happens, if I don't love one or both of the characters, because sometimes I will stick around if I love one of them. If I love one of the characters a whole lot, I can stick through it and go for it. But if I lose my feeling for both characters, I'm like, okay, this book is I call it the book is dead to me. It doesn't mean that it was a bad book. It just means it hit too many of my no-nos and we're done. The next thing, bored. I can't keep my attention. That kind of goes with the thing where I said if I don't care about either of the characters. But this one, I'm bored, often happens with either historical romances where it's taking too long. Slow burns do this to me. If you are going to be a slow burn doesn't mean that the burn isn't still happening. You know, like if you are going to do a slow burn, I need to feel the tension building and building. And sometimes authors don't play that game right, you know. And I'll put this in there. I am not an author. I don't aspire to be an author. I can't imagine the trouble and the time it takes to do this. So I am not critiquing anyone specifically or boo-booing people who do it, because I couldn't do what I do without you. I couldn't have the greatest joy of my life without you. But, however, that doesn't mean I don't have things that I like. So this will happen in slow burns, or it happens if the plot is too complicated. It's one of the reasons why romantic suspense is very difficult for me. Like, I just read one where this happened. I did finish this one because it was an arc. But if it hadn't been an arc, I would have been out of it. Because I can tell that the author did a crap ton of research, and they're just sharing all that with me. They're like, oh my gosh, all this information I have to share because I did my research and I can really tell this story. But I was like, but I'm here for the romance. So you introduced me to this couple, and then all of it's about the crime. And then, oop, we're together in the end. And I was like, I'm not here for you to solve the murder, you know? Which, again, part of that comes with knowing what books you like. It's why some books, I just don't want to try them. It's why I really hesitated for a long time to read Whiteout, because I was afraid that all the other stuff going on would be too much and would take away from my enjoyment. I ended up really liking this because the slow burn had lots of tension, and we knew that it was the cold that was like keeping these people from being able to unleash everything. And then when they finally were able to have it, it was so good. So this is all subjective, right? This is all my opinion. Don't come for me, as Stephanie Harlow would say. Then this one is, which one should I do first? Let's say I've read too much of it in a row. This is a really petty reason, but this definitely happens. Like if I get fatigued with one subgenre, and maybe I don't know I'm fatigued with it. Maybe I don't know. This will happen like if I'm binging Mafia, which I do quite frequently. And I'm like, yeah, I want to read one more. And then I start it and I'm like, oh, this one has the exact same setup as the one I just read. So I'll put it aside. So that's usually a DNF where I'm not like done forever. That's more of a like put it aside, because I bet I could love it if I tried it again another day, right? That happened to me. What's a series that happened in? That happened in the O'Malley series by Katie Robert. Back when I was reading it the first time, when I started the series, I binged the first 3 right in a row. And then when I went to pick up the 4th one, I was just like, oh, I'm a little bit tired. Took me 2 years before I picked the series back up, but then I binged the second 3 and I was like, oh my God, I love these books. What was wrong with me? So that was a case of like, I had just read too much in a row. It might not even be one series. It might just be, you know, that happened with me with Nailani Singh. I was binging the Psy Changelings, and then I had just had too many Psy pairings in a row, and I was like, okay, I need a break. I picked up Silver Silence recently and I was like, ooh, I think I want to read more Psy Changeling again, you know? So it's just a matter of timing when it comes to those books. And then the final category, and this is a really slim one for me because, as I've said before, I am an enjoyment reader, and so I will overlook many sins if your book is fun shit, okay? I'll tell you that. So for me, this last reason why I DNF is sometimes writing style. This could be the tense that they've chosen to use. Let's say they're using second person present tense, which I do not love, or I don't really care for the voice of one. It's very rarely because of like typos or things like that's often stuff I don't even notice, where some of my friends who are reviewers, they're very tuned into those things, and a book can lose a star even if it's a really great book because of the mistakes in it. Whereas for me, this happens very, very rarely, but it is a reason why I'll start a book and literally the writing style puts this wall between me and the characters, and I just can't get to them. That was part of the problem with that arc that I just mentioned, where I would have DNF'd it if it weren't an arc. That one was told in third person, and I feel like for the story they were telling, that I wanted first person, because I wanted to know more of like why these people couldn't make their relationship work the first time. So when I was reading it now, you know, we're reading it in the present tense, I was like, I don't understand you. Like I couldn't get to the character. So that will happen sometimes. I can think of an example where I did pull through. Like there's a book I read recently that I'm telling everyone about that's called The Devil and I by Kay Allister. She's a new author and I loved this book, but it was her first book, and there was a lot of like some choices that were made where I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. But the story and the characters were so compelling that I'm telling everyone about this book, you know, because I couldn't put it down, even though the writing style was kind of getting in my way sometimes. Like it was kind of in my way in certain ways, but I could see enough of what was going on that I was loving it, that it overcame that for me. So for me, writing style is usually the last thing that would make me DNF a book. But if I just don't jive with it, it could be like, oh, I just can't get into it. I can't be there in the romance with these people, and so it's not working for me. So yeah, so there you go. Those are the main reasons why I DNF a book. So if you ever see me, like, if you ever see that I've posted about a book but then there's no review, you know, I do have a DNF shelf on my Goodreads that's public if you want to know, but I don't always put every book on there. I only put a book that's a DNF if I read 20% or more, because I feel like I've given that book, usually 20% is between 50 to 100 pages, and that is how much I give pretty much every book that I read, unless it's one of the reasons why I'm DNFing because I've read too much in a row. Sometimes if I read too much in a row, I'm like, nope, we gotta wait with this one, and then I won't. It's not officially a DNF, it's just that, oop, wrong time to read this book. So I hope that gives you some insight. When I did the video, have I read it, will I read it, will I read it, I was pretty, you know, candid about some of the things that do it for me. So if you ever see that I've DNF'd a book, you can always like ask me. Feel free to ask me on, you know, my Instagram messages like, hey, what was the reason for DNFing this? Like I had someone say that about, what was the book? What was the book? I can't remember it. I can't remember which book it was, but they're like, I've heard everyone loves that book and you DNF'd it. And I told her, I was like, literally, I was just in a bitchy mood and it didn't work for me, but I bet you'll love it. So then the person was like, oh, thanks. And then someone else popped up and was like, oh, it's one of my favorites. That's just how I am with stuff sometimes. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this. This was a little TED talk from Jen about why I DNF. I'd love to know what makes you DNF a book. And is there a book that I've read in DNF that you want me to give a second chance to? I can't promise I will, but maybe I'm in a different mood today and willing to give it a try. So thank you so much for watching. I put in videos 3 to 4 times a week, and you can watch some more of them right now. Bye.